It's the post-mortem Game 2 edition and preview of Game 3 as we get set for more Oklahoma City Thunder coverage brought to you by Griffin Media. My name is Jeremie Poplin. That is Steve McGehee. This is the Chase for a Championship as we welcome in Steve, who's live from Memphis. We'll get to some of his favorite food spots in Memphis. As a Memphis veteran myself with my travels with Tulsa football since they play in the same conference, I've got some opinions on that. We'll get to that in a bit. But Steve, hope you've had time to get a little bit of rest. I know you caught an early flight this morning to get to Memphis, but man, your first takeaways from just another tremendous performance from the Thunder in Game 2.
Yeah, we all knew that Memphis would, everybody knew that Memphis would come out stronger, and they didn't in the first quarter. They scored 20 points in the first quarter Sunday and only 17 last night. So, but then second quarter, Memphis felt like, okay, we got to start playing. And John Morant got more involved. I think he only had 1 point in the first quarter. He was 0 for 6. He got more involved, but they made it interesting. They got to within, I think, 9 points. But then Shea had a couple of back-to-back threes there for him. He's still struggling with the shooting, but I don't think anyone should be worried about him. The shots are going to eventually drop for him. He still can impact the game in so many ways. They made it closer, but Oklahoma City had a flurry of threes near the end of the second quarter to extend that lead, and then Memphis got to within 10 in the third, and then just that's as close as they could get. Did they play their best? No. Did Oklahoma City play their best? No. But it felt like they took a couple of punches from Memphis and they answered the call.
We talked about this. We thought that there might be, you don't want to call it a letdown, but was Oklahoma City going to play as well as they did in Game 1? Chances are more than likely not, and they didn't. But I want to go to the start of that game. And I felt like coming into this game, the first quarter was going to tell the story of how this one would play out, because I thought Memphis had to come out with their hair on fire and play some of their best basketball here in the first quarter to kind of set that tone. They didn't do that at all. They ultimately played better, but it was turnovers. It was, weird plays from John Morant, who didn't have a good first quarter at all. And that, to me, kind of allowed the Thunder to build another lead. And you look up and you're like, wow, at one point, didn't they have a bigger lead at one point than they even did on Sunday, did Oklahoma City?
I think what was their biggest lead? Hold on here. You got me wondering about that. Their biggest lead was 23 points. Yeah, it didn't last long. And, once again, Memphis didn't lead in the game at all.
Yeah.
But, is that the best Memphis can do? That's the big question mark right now, because if it is, it's not going to be enough to win the game. I think Memphis, there was a player's dad on our flight from Oklahoma City to Memphis, and he just kind of kept joking, hey, let us win one. So we can feel good about ourselves going into the offseason. Let us win one. And you kind of question that right now. Maybe I'd give them a 50-50 chance of winning a game. I think it's going to take them a bunch of threes to get the job done. That's something they haven't done. They did a better job, though. Their big three of Desmond Bane, John Morant, Jaren Jackson, all three had better games, and it still wasn't enough. Their bench cannot match Oklahoma City's bench. So I think it's going to take a barrage of Memphis threes and maybe, 5 blocks from the FedEx Forum, maybe playing in home surroundings can help this team out. But Oklahoma City, they play well on the road, if you saw that all season long, and they also won both games here in Memphis.
Pretty remarkable. The thing that stands out to me about the first two games, just how engaged Oklahoma City is defensively. And it doesn't matter what the lead is at all. They are just hounding and harassing the Grizzlies every chance that they get. And that is what they've talked about and what their identity is and what their philosophy is. And now it's to the point where they can finally prove it on a grander scale outside of the regular season. And we're just seeing it translate over to the higher stakes element of the season.
Well, the Memphis coach last night said it was turnovers and rebounds. We couldn't get a rebound. And I think it was Thunder scored, 25 points off of 15 Grizzly turnovers. And then at the other end, Oklahoma City, pretty clean with the basketball, only had 6 turnovers. So you're playing the Thunder with a solid defense, and their offense doesn't turn the ball over that much. It's just a bad matchup, as we've mentioned, for the Memphis Grizzlies. Moving forward, and I think maybe they can win one game, but I think this is an interesting offseason for them to see what they do with the pieces on their team, because I think OKC is exploiting them, and they're finding out that Memphis is just not playing as a team. They don't have that chemistry like Oklahoma City does.
That was my next question here is there even a scenario where we see where Memphis even wins a game, Steve?
Maybe I think it comes down to 3-point shooting. Shea's not having shot his best game yet. Eventually those shots are going to start to, he missed 19 shots, I think, last night. Eventually those shots are going to start to fall. But Oklahoma City hasn't really shot lights out in this thing. They both shot 42% in that range last night, and threes were below 35% for both teams. So neither team is winning a 3-point contest, but it's going to take. I don't see the Thunder defense. I think Memphis has done everything they can to try to create some points on offense. So it just comes down to making threes when they get open looks in the corners or at the top of the key. But Oklahoma City, there's a reason why they're the number 1 seed, and we're starting to see a reason why Memphis is the number 8 seed.
You know what's so funny about that? You bring up an element of SGA and maybe the shooting overall, but what was the big narrative from national talking heads and the national perspective heading in? And it was basically like, who's going to be that second guy when Shea doesn't shoot it well in the playoffs? Do they have that guy? That was the big talking point. And so far through the first 2 games, they've kind of wadded that up like a piece of paper and have thrown it across the classroom, trying to hit it into the trash can.
Hopefully the national people have found out that they have several guys that can step up. It could be Chet. It could be Jalen. Both Jalen and Chet both had games. Isaiah Hartenstein. I thought the unsung hero last night was Caruso.
No doubt.
So much. He had knocked down, I think, 3 threes in the game.
Yep.
A big factor when Memphis was trying to get closer in the second quarter. But he does so many things that do not show up on the stat sheet kind of defensively. It's the same for Lou Dort. But he deflects passes, and even he doesn't steal the ball. He just hounds. I watched him on one play. He's just hounding John Morant, constantly trying to pick up that ball and not pick up the foul. And John just passed it on to somebody else. It was in your face defense. I think it really got the jaw on that possession. But Caruso, the addition, we talked about how great that was in the offseason. It's paying off dividends right now in the postseason.
Yeah, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 steals. You brought up the threes that he hit as well. I want to go to Chet quickly because you mentioned him. Here's just a few of the numbers after last night's game. So he finishes with 20, 11 boards, and 5 blocks. He joins Dwight Howard, Shaq, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Amari Stoudemire as the only players in NBA history to record 20-plus points, 10 rebounds, and 5 blocks in a playoff game before he turns 23. He's also the first sophomore to put up those numbers in the playoffs since Tim Duncan. I didn't even include his 3-point shooting. He hit 3 threes last night. There's only 6 players in NBA history who have ever had 25 and 3 3-pointers in the same playoff game. That's Dirk, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid, Alonzo Mourning, which I was shocked by that, and now Chet Holmgren. So pretty significant in the performance from Chet Holmgren last night for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
They have a big 3. And Shea, and a great chemistry around him. But I'm happy for Chet. I've always felt sorry for him, and it's not his fault to miss his whole first year. His whole first year with the team, and then he was out for at least 30 games this year. So it's great to see him back on the floor, and that's why he was the number 2 pick in the draft. He can shoot threes. He can defend. He can block shots, get rebounds, create his own shot. I mean, he's just a perfect 7-footer. He's I wouldn't say he's Anthony Davis, but he's that Anthony Davis type player. He can do those things.
All right, I got to talk about this play from last night. I'm going to play it for you here so we can see it. We have 3 different angles of it, but I absolutely love this from SGA last night. Just flat out tremendous as we take a look at the first angle here. I mean, it was one of those moments where while I was watching it live, I was like, are you kidding me? And then I saw someone post this to Twitter, Steve, and I just went back and I think I watched it like 5 times in a row with just the ease of the pass, and then of course Dort being able to knock down that shot. But pretty tremendous from what looks to be the league MVP from last night.
When you said that play and you mentioned Shea, I'm like, I bet he's going to mention the one where he's got Pippen Jr. on him, and is he gonna shoot? Or no, he's going to drive, and no, he's going to kick it back out the loop for the three. It was such a sweet play. There were so many good ones. I like Dub's steal for the jam the other way. There was, but that's just Shea in a nutshell. He went inside and go, this isn't going to work. He knew Lou was back there waiting at the arc, and Lou. What do you have for threes? Lou Dort, 2 out of 7. 8 points. Lou Dort can play better offensively, but they won by Lou Dort only has 8 points, and Hartenstein only has 6 offensively, even though he did so many things. 10 rebounds for Hartenstein last night. So certain guys can step up at different moments, but that was a great play by Shea, and it was sweet that the cherry on top was Lou made the 3.
Game 3, looking forward to it coming up 8:30 there in Memphis on Thursday night. Man, I don't even know where to go with this one just based off of what we've seen from the first 2 games here. I mean, we've talked about how Memphis just seems to be a bit overmatched. You can't look too far ahead in any of this. I mean, I guess fans can and we can in the media, but the team's not going to overlook Memphis by any means necessary. But is there anything that stands out to you about going on the road for the first time in the playoffs? Because defense tends to travel.
Yeah, I don't see. They've been there, done that. I think they've won 6. Was it 6 now? They've won against Memphis this year, so there's no threat there. As far as like, oh, we're overmatched by them. They know they have the edge mentally and physically. It's just a matter of now, what can Memphis do with the support of 16,000 plus Memphis fans to help them out? But that's not going to rattle the Thunder. If the Thunder can win in Boston, which they did, they can certainly win in Memphis on a Thursday night. I just like how we have all the start times. We've done the noon.
Yes.
We're doing the 8:30. And Saturday we're doing the 2:30. So we're going to hit all 4 playoff time slots in the first 4 games. That's interesting.
And a quick reminder for everyone, if you want to watch any of the pregame or postgame stuff, Steve goes to extra links to make sure that we can get that up for you on our YouTube channel, the News 9 YouTube channel, so you can watch all of that in the postgame press conferences. It's very, very beneficial.
Yeah. 7 o'clock, let's see, 8:30. So 6:45 will be the Memphis coach, and 7 o'clock will be the Thunder coach, Mark Daigneault. And it's an interesting room. Where they sit is all well lit, but the seats are like in a dungeon. There's no lighting. I even look to find a pen or take notes or whatever. Hopefully they'll change that, because it's like, wow, this is the darkest audience room I've ever been in. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I always find it interesting that, and I don't know if any other sports does this. Does soccer do this in the Premier League, where the coaches talk less than 2 hours for the game or anything like that? Can you imagine Gundy and
yeah, that would be tremendous.
Wrestler was like, no, we don't have time for this.
Yeah, I would like to see that even in the NFL. Those guys trot them out 2 hours before the game time. Yeah, it is very, very unique towards the NBA. One quick thing before we wrap things up. I brought this up earlier, but you've been to Memphis a number of times. This is a hot button topic, but what's first on your list in terms of the dining options when you head to Memphis?
I finally found Central Barbecue.
Okay.
Season. It did not. I usually walk to the Lorraine Hotel for Martin Luther King. It's such a cool setting, and you kind of reflect on that. And Central Barbecue is right next to it, and so they have really good mac and cheese. I like the what's on the corner of Beale Street, City Blues Barbecue.
Yes. Yep.
Good. I may try to hit that tonight after I get some work done. The Thunder usually have Central Barbecue after their game. outside their locker rooms, and there's always a lot left over. So sometimes I dig into that, but when the pull out, Central Barbecue. I've done the rendezvous.
Yep.
Really, there's no wrong answers here when it comes to Memphis and the barbecue.
So Rendezvous will usually cater when we go there with Tulsa football. They'll cater the media food at the Liberty Bowl. So typically we'll have like a rendezvous. But last time that we were in Memphis this past football season, we went to Corky's. I don't know if you've ever been to Corky's before, but Corky's was solid this time.
Where's that located? Is that close to downtown or close?
I think there's a couple of locations. It's a little offset from downtown, so it's a little bit probably out from where you are. We typically don't stay necessarily right downtown, but we're more in the Corky's area. Germantown Commissary is another one that's not that far from where we stay. But you're right. I mean, unless you're just super picky, a barbecue snob, then you're going to have a pretty good option almost everywhere you go in Memphis.
Yeah, that reminds me, I got to do a workout and probably a long
yes
eating bar. So it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it.
That's right, it will. Steve, I appreciate you, man. Hope that you get some good rest. We'll do this again coming up. Reminding everyone, check out all of our Thunder playoff content online, news9.com, newsons.com as well, and the pregame and postgame pressers available for you on the YouTube channel. We'll see you next time, and hopefully we'll be talking about a 3-0 lead for the Oklahoma City Thunder.